Be a moderator for today's press conference here, and this is the conference for the press conference for the Congress, for our first Congress on China's directions, and we have about half of our delegates from Australia, Taiwan and Germany and everywhere in the United States here right now to attend this very important worldwide Congress for the Chinese people in an effort to build a democratic system in China. So in the past weekend, on March 2nd and 3rd, we held a very successful convention right nearby, and right now we are trying to report to you what we have achieved during this convention, which received lots of attention. In particular, we have a declaration to talk about our effort. So for the journalists here, we have our declaration already prepared in paper, in Chinese and English. In case you have not received it, we may have extra copies, and we could also send those to you electronically later. But here, I also want to acknowledge for those of this press conference will be conducted in English, but for some Chinese media, we do have a Chinese copy later on available to you. So right now, officially, we will have open remarks by Mr. Wei Jingsheng, the pioneer, the so-called father of Chinese democracy, to speak for this occasion, and translated by Dr. Gang Li.
谢谢大家，谢谢大家。
Thank you all.
我们这次开这个国事会议，为什么选择这个时间？很多人在问我。
Many people ask me why we pick this timing for the Congress on China's directives.
首先是因为中国的形势变化很快，现在中国的经济也不好，政治也不好，中共内部也不好，而且中共已经威胁到台湾。
First of all, situations in China are changing very rapidly. In China, there's a deterioration both the economic and the political system, and also they are posing a threat to Taiwan.
我们生活在美国可能感觉不到，但是你看看那个南部边界有那么多的成10万人的中国人逃到美国来，你就可以知道中国的形势发展的多么糟糕了。
Maybe we would not feel so much in the U.S., but just by looking at the fact that there were about 100,000 Chinese who were trying to come to this country illegally, crossing the southern border, just by that fact, you know how bad the situation in China is.
在这个时间，不但是国内的，包括国外的很多的中国人都在问我们。你们有什么动作没有
At this juncture, many people, both inside and outside of China, are asking us, "Are you going to take some actions?"
我们说，你们不能只说推翻共产党，你还得给我们一个蓝图，将来你们要建立一个什么样的中国
They told us that you cannot just saying that let's overthrow the Communist Party of China. You also need to provide us with a blueprint on what a future of China will look like.
当你走到路上的时候，你可能就需要找一个路线图了。现在我们就要给出中国人一个路线图。
When you start a journey, you need a roadmap, and we are trying to come up with such a roadmap.
在这种形势下，我和王丹、王军涛，我们3个人商量了一下。我们现在得做出一个规划，给中国一个今后的蓝图。
So, because of this, both I and Mr. Wang Dan and Wang Juntao, we had a discussion and came up a consensus that we should at least try to provide such a blueprint or roadmap.
当然不能我们3个人说了算，我们得大家一起来商量，我们将来中国会是一个什么样的中国。
Of course, it cannot be decided by just the 3 of us. We need representatives from all the stakeholders together, and we should discuss as to what kind of a future China we would like to have.
所以我们召开的这次会议，不仅有这个从事多年民主运动的老同志，也还有各方面的学者。
That's why we hold the first Congress on China's directions. We have attendees both as veteran democratic activists, but also scholars on different disciplines.
和你们在国会里开会一样，我们也争论得非常激烈。
Just like you are having sessions at the House of Representatives, we had lively and sometimes fierce debates.
最后，在一些主要的问题上，大家基本上达成了一致。
But fortunately, at some major or key issues, we do have reached consensus.
从今天开始，我们将要公布这些东西。
And we are about to announce them starting today.
下边就请王丹先生来介绍一下这些我们达成的这些结果。
就是王丹是想做这个宣言，是不是 ？Now we would ask Mr. Wang Dan to read the declaration of the first Congress.
好，你来。
Here's the declaration. On March 2nd and the 3rd, 2024, we, a group of people from all walks of life who had long been committed to the cause of freedom and democracy in China, after lively debates, reached the following consensus on the democratization process of China and a plan for building a democratic China. First, currently, autocratic ruling of the Chinese Communist Party is facing internal and external turmoil. Xi Jinping's dictatorship has consolidated the totalitarian system, exacerbating the possibility of dramatic changes in China. Thus, an opportunity for China's democratization has thrust upon us. At this critical juncture, those who have been looking forward to such a transformation should carefully examine the current state of China and study relevant experiences and lessons of other countries around the world and draft plans and ways to rebuild a constitutional political institution in China. Second, to build a democratic nation, we must first overthrow the tyranny of the CCP and establish a free, equal, just, and harmonious civil society. We should encourage and promote all forms of people's fight against the cruel regime, support people's uprising, mutinies, and coups aimed at ending the tyranny, encourage professional organizations and institutions to participate in such movement, call on the military and the police to stand with the people, and urge key party and government officials within the ruling group to decisively terminate the CCP's tyranny and meet people's demand for democratization. Third, upon the termination of cruel regime, representatives of all stakeholders will, through negotiations, establish a provisional government to administer state affairs in the interim, which shall ban the CCP from all state institutions. release all prisoners of conscience confined by the CCP, confiscate the archives of CCP's tyrannical institutions, maintain economic and social operations, hold roundtable conferences to formulate a new constitution, have a new government elected to take over the governance in accordance with the new constitution, and accomplish the transition between the old regime and the new government. Fourth, the newborn democracy shall respect and protect the citizens' rights as stipulated by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, prohibit infringements of the citizens' freedom of speech, publication, press, association, assembling, and demonstrations, strictly forbidden the encroachment of individual and religion freedom and property ownership. In particular, it shall legislate protection of farmers' land rights and entrepreneurs' ownership rights, and shall not infringe upon private property rights. 5. The government of Democratic China shall be formed by open, equal, and rules-based citizen elections and governed in accordance with the law. Government institutions forced upon the people without the citizens' direct or indirect authorization is a tyranny. In the case legal means for replacing a government are blocked, the people shall have the right to overthrow a tyranny. 6. The government of Democratic China shall implement separation of the legislative, executive, and judicial powers in accordance with constitutional principles. The national governance institutions, including the police, shall maintain a neutral stance in political life. No political party shall be allowed to operate within the national governance institutions. The government shall exercise its authority in accordance with the law and shall be strictly prohibited from abusing its power and forcing citizens to comply with illegal government decrees. 7. The Democratic China shall have an independent judicial system, which shall protect the basic right of citizens and maintain normal operations of the society. Every individual shall be equal under the law. When their rights and interests are infringed, citizens shall have the right to seek judicial relief. Manipulation of a judicial system is strictly forbidden. 8. The Democratic China shall have nationalized armed force, which shall have the 3 fundamental missions of safeguarding national sovereignty and territorial integrity, resisting foreign aggression, and allying with other democratic countries to maintain world peace. The armed force shall remain politically neutral and not be involved in politics. Service members are not allowed to join political parties. The name of armed forces shall be changed to the National Defense Forces, with the democratically elected president as its commander-in-chief. Current armed police shall be reorganized into local guard forces, which shall have responsibility of maintaining local order in peacetime and may be incorporated into the National Defense Force in wartime. 9. The government of Democratic China shall maintain healthy and fair operation of economic and finance, establish a reasonable social security system, promote development of science, education, culture, health, and ecology protections, and protect equal development opportunities for the citizens. The Democratic China shall protect the rights of disadvantaged groups and promote equal sharing of development and participation opportunities for all ethnic groups and communities. 10th and the last one, the democratic China shall cooperate with the free and democratic world, actively participate in maintaining a rules-based international order, combat international terrorism and authoritarian forces, and support development of democracy and freedom around the world. We sincerely hope that all who agree with us will co-sign our declaration. Information on how to do so will follow in near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dan Wang. And our next speaker will be Dr. Juntao Wang. He's also one of the three initiators of this plan for the Congress. And thus, he will tell us a little more about our future plan. Thank you, Dr. Wang.
Good morning, everyone. In last weekend, we successfully held the first Congress on China's future, and I think you are concerned about next move. And in next step, we will have two areas of work. First, we have to make a decision about the second Congress on China's direction. And up till now, we have several issues in our mind. We need to make decision this afternoon and build on the debate and the discussion during the last weekend, the first Congress. But now we have three issues in our mind. We have not made decision, I have to say. And the first is about the economic issue. Most of Chinese hate the Communist Party because of economic interests and economic trouble. Just as Wei Jingsheng mentioned, during the last 2 years, a lot of Chinese takes a life risk, try to cross the border of the United States of America to search for their new life in this country, the land of freedom. And we need a plan to tell them if China has a democracy, and then what kind of life they will have. That kind of life is not secured by our words, it's by institution, by government policy. And also a lot of elites concerned about if you initiate a democratic revolution, China collapses. How do you deal with it? How can you avoid it? So we need economic issues, and we need a plan to answer those kind of questions. The second issue in our mind is about what kind of governance and government you want to build up. And it's actually in my mind, I got a PhD from political science from Columbia University, and it should be the major job to build up a political regime. And then also a lot of Chinese concerned in the new regime with it, maybe it's elites, and they said, okay, what kind of rights we have, what kind of government you want to build up. The second. And third one is that I think a lot of international forces concerned. They like the democracy in China, but they worried if you initiate a revolution, how can you deal with the transition issues? Up till now, there are hundreds of transitions occurred in the world. Last century, China set up the first republic in the Asia, but we failed. Finally, such a revolution provided the Communist Party a chance to build up the totalitarian regime. So we need to answer those questions. How can you deal the transition problem, economic, social chaos, and also transition justice? So we need to discuss about it, and also we need government to maintain the justice and social order. We have to balance. So it's a three kind of issue. We have to make decision this afternoon, and then we will have one time. And so I hope that we can maybe in the next week, before next week, we can give you the answer. The second area of work we have to do is how to spread our news and information. As Mr. Wei Jingsheng and Dan Wang said on the News Express conference on November 11th, 2023, and we need the political mobilization and professional discussion. So I think the first step, both of us it's the three of us, and to publish the declaration to initiate a discussion on China's future. And just as Wei Jingsheng said, but it's not our, we cannot make it happen alone. We need the Chinese to join us, so we need a network to mobilize people. And that kind of mobilize, including thanks for the information technology, they gave us the platform to spread our news. And also, we need the traditional media to help us. And second, a lot of Chinese contact us after the November 11th News Express conference a lot. They said, they tried to convince us to set up the third Congress on China's direction. For example, someone in the room, and they said he worked on the internet. He said he could set up the group discussion in his room. So I think that will be very great job. We need if we want to be successful, we need people to join us. So but this depends on the money and the technician. So we will try to mobilize resource on our job in the next few years, the next few months. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wang. And we are very honored to have Mr. Piero Tosi, who's the staff director for CECC, and it's the congressional executive of the Committee on China. Anyway, he has been always, like CECC, he has been always supportive to Chinese human rights and democracy. And 下面是陶志贤是中国委员会的这个幕僚长给我们讲话，谢谢。Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that kind intro, and I do want to convey my greetings from the chairman of the Congressional Executive Commission on China, Congressman Christopher Smith. And there's a reason why I'm here and he's not here today, and that's because today is his birthday. Oh, yes, congratulations. And it's the one day where his family insists that he spend time with them. But on behalf of him and also our co-chairman, Senator Jeff Merkley, and on behalf of myself, I also want to offer congratulations on this first Congress. And really, I'm very humbled to be speaking after three great democracy leaders, and obviously Wei Jingsheng, the father of the democracy wall, the democracy movement in China, Wang Dan and Wang Juntao. So it really is very humbling. It's also great to see that you have such You know, oftentimes in Congress we focus on the peripheral regions, which is important, but to see the core of China being emphasized here, because change within China has to come from you, democratic change. It doesn't come from the outside, from the United States. It comes from the Chinese people. One thing, however, that we can do, that Congress and the U.S. government, and also American businesses and Western businesses can and must do, is stop subsidizing tyranny. You know, after Tiananmen, that great expression of the will of the Chinese people, George H.W. Bush made a fatal mistake when he sent Brent Scowcroft to Beijing to reassure them in the name of stability. That was really a missed opportunity. When Bill Clinton delinked trade with China from human rights, that was another grave mistake. We cannot keep doing that. We cannot side with the Chinese Communist Party against the Chinese people. Okay? The other important point is that businesses have to stop subsidizing tyranny, have to stop cooperating with that. When you have a company such as Thermo Fisher Scientific, whose DNA markers are used by police, such as in Xinjiang, autonomous region, and Tibet, autonomous region, to oppress the people, and even allegations that the technology has been used with a horrible practice of forced organ harvesting, something that Congress needs to look at and examine. When you have that direct cooperation with tyranny, that is unjust. There's more that can be done using existing tools that we have. For example, our Securities and Exchange Commission, when you have companies that are publicly traded, are their goods, the supply chain, is it corrupted by the use of forced labor? Okay, because that must be excluded. We have passed a law on that. Okay? When companies such as Xi'an seek to list themselves there, and one thing about these Chinese companies, how do we know that the numbers are accurate? Because everything now is a violation of the national security law, economic data. So just enforcing our existing law, whether it's our 1934 Act, that can go a long way to ceasing the subsidization of tyranny. Finally, I just want to say a few remarks. What you're doing is rebutting the absolutely false narrative that the Chinese people are incapable of democracy and incapable of respect for human rights. Whether it's Xi Jinping articulating that narrative, or earlier we saw Lee Kuan Yew with the Asian values debate. No, the Chinese people certainly are capable of democracy and respect for human rights. Just look at Taiwan, for example, a Chinese society that is democratic, that respects human rights. That's one of the reasons why Xi Jinping directs such animus at that, because as long as Taiwan exists free and independent, that is a proof that what his narrative is absolutely wrong. But the roots of Chinese democracy and Chinese respect for human rights go far deeper than that. If we go to Mencius, Mengzi, it's a very, very important passage, which I think Americans and Westerners don't fully appreciate, and sometimes even Chinese people do not fully appreciate. It's where he talks about the Tianming, the mandate of heaven, okay? And he's asked the question, is it ever legitimate to overthrow a government, to depose of an emperor? And the answer, he says, is no. But it is legitimate to overthrow a tyranny and to overthrow a tyrant. And how do you know that someone is a tyrant, that there is a tyranny? Well, there is a law above the law, okay? The Tao, okay? And he gives us a simple test, which really dates back even further to the Book of Documents, the Shu Jing, right? Where it says, heaven sees with the eyes of the people and hears with the ears of the people. That is democracy. That's maybe not the words that we use today in describing democracy or human rights, but that is something that is very deep in the Chinese tradition. And just one final thought, last year, Li Keqiang passed away under very strange circumstances. And I don't know the facts of it. I don't think maybe people here don't know. But and I don't want to extol him too much. I mean, he was a member of the Politburo, he was a member of the Chinese Communist Party. But in his last speech, he said something very interesting. He said that heaven is watching and that heaven has eyes. And I just want to repeat that one thought and leave you with that. Heaven sees with the eyes of the people and hears with the ears of the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tosi. Really moving, and I love you talking about the talking points and regarding the tyranny. As a matter of fact, we had a debate during our event of how to end the dictatorship of the communist regime, which is not easy because they refuse to give up power, refuse to have a peaceful transition. So what you said is inspiration and a great point, and just as inspirational to us as the Americans independents. Our next, we are very grateful that we got the support from Representative Michael Gallagher, and his office staff was here, and unfortunately he could not be here today because today is out of district, the work. Work day, I'm sorry. Anyway, but he did he did try to help us. And we also had a statement by, Representative Marcy Kaptur, who always be supportive to the Chinese human rights and was very concerned of the labor rights to us. And but for now, we want to move to the next session. I think maybe we have a group photo together, and then we'll have a question and answers for the reporters about this, because it's very significant, very important for us to be here today, and it's in some way we are reminded of the Continental Conference before the founding of the U.S. Congress. So we are very honored and feel the enormous support from the American people to be able to hold our press conference here after our first Congress on China's direction. And so maybe that's our procedure. 一起照张相，然后回答问题，好不好？Okay, so we're just standing here.
我们 guest 也去吧，我们 guest
大家一起啊！我们 guest, all our guests, yeah, who support us, thank you for support us. So,
给站几点，或者站两排，一排好像。Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Some of them just sit down. Otherwise, we'll not be able to get everyone here. Yeah, we'll squeeze together. 在后面。
那个背后是一把上面要死了，太有这个。
Oh, okay, yeah. Thank you, 1, 2, please. Gentleman in front of you, sit down. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Hold on, sorry. All right, I'm done.
Okay, you're here. Thank you. I consider this as a very symbolic moment for us. So anyway, I see more than one staff from Representative Callaghan's office, and again, I want to express gratitude for your help for us to be able to reach this historic moment. And the second session of this press conference will be a Q&A session. So we are open floor to the journalists here. And Mr. Wei, Mr. Wei Jingsheng, Mr. Wang Dan, Mr. Wang Juntao will be happy to answer your questions. 要不然3个椅子放在前面 and yeah, so 坐着。哎，好。So, any questions?
Good, no questions. Go home.
Easy. Yeah? I guess we had a very good declaration. So yes, please.
Hi, thank you for doing this. My name is Yuko Mukai from Japanese University. We went to my school. And I have a question about where this conference will go. So the first question is, well, like according to your explanation, I understood that the situation in China is getting about the university is getting worse, and that's why it's happening now. But can you please elaborate more why it's happening now? Because I understand in the past there has been a movement, but what is different for this time from the other past events? And also, many people are involved in this movement, and also what is your next conference or what's your next plan? Thank you.
我来吧。首先来说这个现在中国形势变得这么复杂的话，我们是被迫的，不得不在这个时间给出一个蓝图。
First of all, it's just because the situation in China is getting so complicated that we are pretty much forced to provide such a blueprint at this juncture.
以前的那个民主运动呢，只是一种群众运动，可能是从89年开始，那个群众运动延续下来的。
The previous movement is pretty much a mass movement from the grassroots movement. It was a continuation of previous events.
从今天开始，我们已经不仅仅是运动，而且要摆出一个准备借新的政府这样一个价值。
Starting from today, we're not going to be just a movement. We will getting into the position of at least try to establish a new government.
我们现在，也就是说，我们现在不仅仅是在推动中国走向民主，而且是计划将来中国的是什么样的民主。
So we're not just promoting democratization in China. We are now planning on what kind of democracy the China will be in future.
现在中国不仅对中国人民来说非常需要这样一个民主，对于整个国际局势来说，如果中国民主了也是非常非常重要的。
At this time, not only people in China need such a democracy, countries all over the world also need such a political institution.
当然，对日本可能更重要。
And of course, it will be particularly important for Japan as well.
Well, I don't think the timing is very important. For the past 35 years, we all know the very basics of the ruling of CCP is economy, is economic development. But now situation changed. The very crucial time now, because all the economic growth is gone. So we do think this is the time. And we don't know what happened and when that happened, but I think we must prepare for that, for different paths. If something happens, we have to have preparation. So that's why we have this conference now. I think mainly because the economic situation changed.
Also, I think the most important factor is Xi Jinping. He created the turning point for communist-party rule. And before Xi Jinping, Deng Xiaoping conduct the reform and open this policy, and that gave China the 30 years high-speed development. And also a lot of elites got the huge benefit from the development. So they support council rule, for example, businessmen, government officials, and intellectuals. Intellectuals mean little to transition if it happened in the United States of America and the Western democracies. But in East Asian countries, people listen to intellectuals. So I think and those people now, Xi Jinping just hurt their interests and try to develop, try to destroy their reputation and their occupation, so their professional expertise. And then, so I think the one elites, do not support the concept rule, and the mass also, Xi Jinping also lost the mass support during the pandemic, and the zero policy for this. So I think it's a critical point for democracy forces to provide a solution for those kind of Chinese. If China becomes democratic, and then they will have, both of the elites and the mass will enjoy the development and the justice.
And for the time and location of our next Congress, we didn't decide it yet. Maybe we'll decide it in next 2 hours.
So do we have some other questions? Or otherwise we will be ready to. So otherwise we will be ready to move on to next session. We have a long list of speakers. This time we do have professors, the experts, and from all over the world. We would like them to give 2 to 3 minutes opportunity to talk about their thoughts and give their suggestions. 下面呢，我们可以before, if you have any other questions, you're welcome to present at this time. But otherwise, we will move on to the next session. 下一部分呢，在其他的媒体有问题之前呢，我们请我们的我们的这个与会人员，每个人有2到3分钟时间，请比较快的能够发言。那么顺序稍微调一下，第一个呢是李恒清先生。那么下面是冯忠义教授。冯忠义教授他是从澳大利亚来的那么他是在经济、政治、历史上都很有研究，所以呢，请冯忠义教授表达一些想法。谢谢。
Before that, is there any question from media and the staff?
Yeah, we will have another session. All the media welcome to present your question at any time, because I think some of the people will raise some issues about China. You maybe got to this idea, then you could ask your question anytime for the media. Just get my attention. Okay, Professor Feng, thank you.
Thank you very much, Zipin, for the kind invitation. Thank you all, the media, the press. Actually, I'm extremely excited for this moment. You can see the room, the number of delegates for this Congress is not very big. But we all know history, more often than not, is created by political minority and political moment. The world and China is actually at a political moment. One colleague just asked, why now? Why we have conference now? Of course, if you look at China, for us, the three leaders of the movement already mentioned, the Xi Jinping regime is trying to push China backward from a post-totalitarian society back to a totalitarian society. Post-totalitarian to totalitarian society, something you cannot then similar in North Korea. Though there sometimes we made the joke, Xi Jinping is turning China into a West Korea. That's China under Mao. And this regime, the current regime, Xi Jinping, by doing this, is ruining Chinese economy, destroying Chinese civil society, and antagonizing the entire world. If we do not do anything to overthrow this regime, it not only bring a disaster for Chinese nation, but can also bring the disaster to the entire world. I am trained as a historian. When we look at the history of 20th century, the whole world is turned upside down with three great dictators: Stalin, Hitler, Mao Zedong. Xi Jinping and Putin now is doing the same thing. This bastard trying to turn the world upside down to set the entire world order. We have the duty, we have the obligation to stop them. So that's why in this critical moment, we have to put our orders stopped to overthrow this regime, to end the totalitarian dictatorship of the Xi Jinping, and then to create a genuine constitutional democracy, model on the democracy throughout the world. When we mention constitutional democracy, we actually mean trinity of supremacy of human rights, democratic legitimacy and rule of law. So by doing this, we distinguish us from all those fake, illiberal democracies, including the Chinese government. They also claim they are democratic. So we have a very clear idea. We are creative constitutional democracy. And then to achieve that goal, this is very important step, just mentioned by Mr. Wilkinson, that in the past we mobilize people for mass movement or social movement. But now we are tasked to create a new government, a new institution to replace the communist regime out there. And in order to do that, we need to build the broadest coalition. So this Congress, the first step, that we come around the world, democracy activists and scholars come around the world to show to the Chinese in China and overseas that if we can unite together, fight in solidarity, we can not only encourage people from the society, but also to invite Chinese officials from the regime to join us, to join forces together to make the grand change, grand transformation. Thank you very much.
Sorry, we have limited time, so that's why I'm trying to limit it into 3 minutes. 尽量控制在2-3分钟内讲完啊，不好意思。那么下面一个于大海先生因为有点急事，所以要走，所以sorry, next one it would be Dr. David Yu, who is the director for the June 4th Memorial Museum from New York. Thank you, Dr. Yu, and please give your remarks.
Thank you. 大家好，我今天就讲英文了。Good morning. Good morning. We had 2 days of very intensive, productive discussions about the future of China. And in the process, we drew much inspiration from the American experience, particularly the American Declaration of Independence. So what I want to do is to give you my personal take on what we're doing. I would like to think that this Congress is really a kind of preliminary declaration of independence or a call for declaration of independence. So, independence from what? My take is we are talking about the Chinese people's independence from tyranny, from the Chinese Communist Party's really enslavement of the Chinese people. That's our goal. So why do we need to do this? It's because people have a right to choose their own government. And here, I want to paraphrase the American Declaration of Independence. The Declaration says, when the government practices absolute despotism, it is people's right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. That's what we're doing. We want to throw off this dictatorial government. We want to provide new guards for the future of the Chinese people. So why are we doing it here in the United States? Obviously, the reason is the people in China couldn't do this. In 2009, as you know, 2008 charter spearheaded by Mr. Liu Xiaobo, the Nobel Prize winner, That was a very moderate declaration, but Liu Xiaobo was imprisoned or sentenced to 11 years of imprisonment as a result. And of course, we all know he eventually died in prison. What we're suggesting is that we take a more drastic step than the Charter of 08, and that is to overthrow the Chinese Communist Party and to re-establish the Republic. What we're doing then is to suggest this to the Chinese people from the free land of the United States of America. And we are hopeful, we are confident that in the near future, the Chinese people will take up our suggestion and end the dictatorship of Xi Jinping and the dictatorship of the Chinese Communist Party. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yu. Next speaker will be Professor Zheng Jianyuan. Professor Zheng comes from Taiwan, and he is always be supportive to democracy in Taiwan and in China. Thank you, Professor Zheng.
Speaking in Chinese and Dr. Yu Gang translate for me. 我来自台湾，那么现在的台湾正面临着中华人民共和国军事侵略的威胁，特别是在台湾海峡另一端的金门岛。
I'm from Taiwan, and right now Taiwan is facing a threat from the mainland China for the military aggression, especially to the Jinmen Island near the mainland.
我们知道最近两任的美国政府，它的对华政策有个非常重要的核心的概念，就是中共非中国。
We know that for the past 2 U.S. administrations, they have a very important concept. That is, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is not China.
维护台湾安全跟台湾的民主，最好的方式就是和中国人民站在一起，建立民主的中国。
The best way to protect the security and the democracy of Taiwan is to help and to establish democracy in China with Chinese people.
所以这也是我代表台湾人民的心声，共同来参与第一届中国国事会议的原因。
This is the reason that I, as a representative of Taiwanese people, to come here and to join the folks here in the first Congress on China's directions.
在这次会议当中，我是以观察员的身份来参与。
In this meeting, I was more or less as an observer.
可是我们要了解，人权高于主权，普世价值、宪政主义，这个是也是台湾人民跟中国人民共同要追求的目标。
But we need to know that the human rights are above sovereignty and universal values.
Universal values, 还有 constitution.
And constitutionalism are very precious and very important.
所以，我愿意这个身先士卒，同时也未来能有机会邀请更多的台湾的宪法跟这个政治学的学者中国研究的学者，共同的和我们这些中国的大陆的朋友，以及甚至包括世界各国关心中国民主化问题的朋友，共同来关心而且参与未来民主中国的打造。
So I'd like to, well, as just one of the first, but I hope that there will be others from Taiwan, scholars in both constitutionalism and politics, to join us, and also with people, the friends from all over the world together to help with the establishment of democracy in China.
这和你是不是中国人无关，而主要是因为这是人类文明最重要的事业。
This is a very important cause for all human beings, whether you are a Chinese or not.
谢谢。
Thank you.
We have a representative, Marcy Capital's representative here to deliver her remarks. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ben Cammons. I'm the Communications Director for Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur, and I'm here to read a statement on her behalf. Thank you all so much for the invitation to this very urgent press conference to announce the founding of the first Congress on China's directions. Wei Jinsheng, Wang Dan, and Wang Juntao, your leadership in initiating this conference to organize champions for liberty who support a free and open China could not come at a more urgent time. Tragically, the Chinese regime has a deeply troubling human rights record of human rights under Xi Jinping. The Chinese Communist Party has navigated further to autocratic rule and suppression. Together, we can carry forward the flame of human rights and democracy in China and across the world. As we speak, hundreds of thousands of Uyghur Muslims are languishing in concentration camps in northwest China. Hundreds, if not more, Tibetans continue to suffer under detention, yet heroically continue the struggle for self-determination. Meanwhile, millions of Chinese workers toil away at penny-wage jobs to benefit the Chinese regime and its increasingly aggressive posture on the global stage. With such an ancient and rich culture, the Chinese people deserve better than this brutish and crude oppression, just as China shows a blatant disdain for human rights and the rule of law in its own country. She tramples upon international law and seeks to overturn the global rules-based order. As her strategic competitor, China seeks to spread its propaganda and tear down the virtues of democracy and would seek to replace the blessings of liberty, replacing it with oppressive and dark ideology. China's complacent support for Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, its bolstering of the North Korean dictatorial state, and engagement with the fanatical Iranian regime demonstrates its central role in developing the spiderweb of tyranny that is rising up to snuff out freedom. Even as China undermines liberty in Europe and Asia, we see it investing in developing nations in South America and Africa, spreading its undemocratic and tyrannical influence through infrastructure democracy like the Belt and Road Initiative. We must stand against the Chinese Communist Party's military threat and worst intentions. The Congress on China's directions provides the critical forum to organize such a stand and find a path forward to a peaceful and free China. As a former member of the Congressional Executive Commission on China and founder of the Victims of Communism Caucus, I join my colleagues in recommitting to work to hold China accountable on its deeply disturbing human rights record. Thank you all again for this great honor to contribute the voices of Ohio's 9th District to your fight for human rights in China and globally. I look forward to working with you and my colleagues on a bipartisan basis to carry forward the torch of liberty.
总之 ，Marcy Kaptur 的讲话，他是主要是表示他过去是国会中国委员会的一个也是一个成员。然后呢，他一直支持这个中国民主。他事实上得到过我们魏金生基金会的这个一个奖，就是感谢 ，Thank you very much, appreciate 他的主要议题呢，就是他对中国人权问题的这个担忧，以及他在这个中国委员会以及其他的这个委员会里面这有一个叫做这个等于算是共产主义受害者小组，国会受害，他事实上当过4个主席之一他在那里呢，他自己本身又是波兰和乌克兰的后裔，所以他一直是对中国的对人权的受到共产主义受害的这个情况是很担忧的，就是这么一个情况。那么这是他的讲话的主题我们以后会发给大家。 那么我们下一个讲话呢，就是由这个廖天琪女士。廖天琪女士是从德国来的，她也在美国待过，总之她一直我认识她就是因为她对人权支持，我都知道她20多年，但是我想她我知道她都是20多年，她工作都不止。总而言之，我们非常荣幸廖天琪女士，她是欧洲之声的社长，谢谢。I'm sorry. Miss Tianqi Liao Martin comes from Germany, and she is the head of the Euro Voices, and she has been supportive to Chinese democracy and human rights for decades. So we are very honored that she comes from all the way from Germany and to support us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ciping. Well, our world is messed up since many years. First, we have the COVID worldwide, and later we have war. We have war in Europe, but this war is also a war for the whole world. So, facing this situation, as Ciping said, I'm based in Germany. So in Europe, we feel much more closer to the war. We feel this is a humanitarian catastrophe, this war, and this also caused the shortage of food, the shortage of energy, not only in Europe, the whole world. And Pan Yongzhong and I, we are living in Germany. We noticed that the price is rising up and up and up, skyrocketing. So, what shall we do? Did Xi Jinping learn something from Putin? Putin's empire is big and try to devour the small Ukraine, but he cannot win 3 years. We know that. Did Xi Jinping learn from Putin? So is that a warning for him that he shall not attack Taiwan? This is one fact. Another fact is that Taiwan had, as you know, we had an election in 13th of January. And the DPP has won. And this is another fact that Taiwanese feel that they are Taiwanese and they are not only Chinese. So I think these two facts will probably, maybe the crisis won't break out immediately, but still, the crisis is still there. Well, 1989, we all, I think most of you are actually victims and also witnesses of the Tiananmen massacre. And this massacre has influenced the whole world, especially it caused the collapse of the communist countries in Europe. Berlin Wall fell, and I was there in Berlin and in Germany. I've also witnessed this whole happiness. I really experienced history happens in front of my eyes. So why do I mention that? We know Soviet Union was big, and all these satellite countries. It's a huge empire, huge power. But it collapsed just like a domino stone. Gone. So China is strong, China is powerful, but I think we shall never lose we should believe that the power belongs to people. We are not powerless. We are powerful. A dictator like Xi Jinping controls the army, controls the judicial system and the media and everything. it seems that he's very powerful. We are powerless, but it's not true. It's just on the other side, the people are powerful and the dictatorship is actually very weak. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Pan Yongzhong, and he comes from Germany and has been a long time activist and the leader of the democracy movement in Europe. And so we are very happy, very honored him to speak here. 你跟着来。
我在海外参加中国民主运动30多年了。
For more than 30 years, I have been participating in the overseas Chinese democracy movement.
但今天站在这里，整个意义就不一样了。
However, today I'm standing here with a totally different significance.
有位金师王军涛创建了国是会议。
With the Congress on China's directions initiated by Mr. Wei Jingsheng, Mr. Wang Dan, and Mr. Wang Juntao.
首先，他们3个人就是中国民主运动各个时期的领军人物，他们组建了这个一个团队。
First of all, these 3 people have been the leaders of the Chinese democracy movement for many years, and they now formed this team.
过去30多年，中国的民主运动就像很艰巨的游兵散勇各个小组织的自我行动。
For the past 30-some years, the Chinese democracy movement are kind of like people of many different small groups who are acting totally independent of each other.
但从今天开始，它的意义在于它的领导系统、它的运作程序、它的整个政策方向全部是崭新的。
But from today, we can be sure that it's the leadership and the operation procedure, the policy and the direction of the movement is totally new.
我们的口号是推翻中共，重建共和。
Our slogan is overthrow the Communist Party of China and rebuild the republic.
这不是一句口号。
This is not just a slogan.
它是行动，它是精神，它是积极号。
This will be a action, a call of action, and a call of spirit. It will.
我将参与见证、经历这个艰巨而繁重的任务，我会积极参与。
I will participate, witness, and experience in this big endeavor.
我和大家一起，不会退缩，一直往前走。谢谢大家。
I and all of you will be together and will not fall back, but will forge forward no matter what. Thank you all.
谢谢。
Our next speaker is Wei Mingchen, who is the chief sculptor in the famous, very famous tourist spots on the west coast now called Liberty Sculpture Park. And so, Mr. Chen.
Good morning, everyone. I appreciate we have first Chinese conference and DC. I think now in the world, China dictator regime is very, very badly, very, very dangerous for all the world. So this time we have the China new Congress. I think this is very, very important because China dictator Xi, the regime not represent Chinese. The Chinese is like democracy. So we are this new Congress, I think, representative more China people. So I think this time we establish this Congress, new Congress in the China, that's very important for whole the world, also very important for China. So I'm very appreciate we are here together. We are struggle for China democracy and the China freedom and the human rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. Next speaker is Mr. Zheng Xuguang, who was a student leader in 1989 democracy movement, and he also was on the one of the 21 most wanted after the Tiananmen massacre. And now he's in the United States and has continued his work to support human rights and democracy in China. Mr. Zheng, thank you.
不需要，
不需要，
我需要。
哦，你需要。
Good morning, everyone. 我会用普通话来讲，因为我很自信我的普通话。
I'm going to speak in Mandarin because I'm very confident of my Mandarin.
Yeah. 昨天我们昨天我们开了2天的会，就是讨论这个第1届国事会议的议题。那么这个
The day before yesterday and yesterday, we had a 2-day session talking about the agenda and the issues of the first Congress.
议题是2部分，一部分呢是我们的愿景。
There are 2 parts of our agenda. First is our vision.
一部分是路线图。
And the second one would be our roadmap.
我们的愿景，按我的理解，这是我个人理解，一部分是对于未来制宪会议的建议。
Our vision, to my understanding, on part would be our suggestions to a constitution drafting conference.
一部分是对未来国会的建议。
And a part of that would also be our suggestions to the future congresses of the country.
关于路线图，我们的思维是开放的。
As to the roadmap, we are open to all suggestions.
我们想象中会有民变、军变、政变多种可能性。
In our imaginations, there will be many possibilities, including people's uprising, military mutinies, and coups.
包括非暴力的手段和武装革命的手段。
Including both non-violent ways and ways with armed forces.
这个会议会继续进行。
This Congress will continue.
Yeah. 这个会议的缘起和习近平有很大的关系。
The origination of this Congress had a lot to do with Xi Jinping.
如果不是习近平，世界感觉不到中共政权正在蓬勃增长的实力和勃勃的雄心。
Without him, people around the world may not realize the ever-growing power and ambition of China.
经过3年疫情和俄乌战争，我们看到习近平的想法。
Through the 3 years of the pandemic and also the war of Russia's invasion into Ukraine, we now can see clearly the mind of Xi Jinping.
他想打造一个中国部分主导的世界秩序。
he wants to have a world order partly dominated by China.
斯大林和毛泽东是他的榜样。
And he takes Stalin and Mao Zedong as his examples.
这个工作对他来讲是非常艰难的。
This is a extremely tough work for him.
我评他是这个过程将是九死一生。
In my mind, 9 out of 10 chances he fell.
因为他要面对几乎所有中国社会中过去40年来形成的既得利益集团。
Because he has to deal with the groups of vast interest in China that have been formed in the past 40 years.
但是他有一个非常好的机会或者手段，可以让他很快的度过这个危险期。
But he has a very good opportunity and perhaps means for him to go through these dangerous times.
就是一场对外战争。
That will be a war, external war.
也许在东海，也许在南海，也许在台海。
It could be in either the East China Sea, the South China Sea, or the Taiwan Strait.
我们知道他在2020年3月提出来一个新发展观。
We know that in March of 2020, he proposed a new concept of development.
这个新发展观就是2个经济循环体系，外循环、内循环，独立2个体系，而内循环就是毛泽东式的、斯大林式的。
And which would be two separate circulation systems of economy, the one internal, one external. The internal one is totally following Mao Zedong and Stalin's examples.
从江泽民到习近平，他们已经准备了20多年。
From Jiang Zemin to Xi Jinping, they have been preparing for more than 20 years.
就是在美国是台海是在未来的中国冲突中的首要敌人。
That is, they would consider the U.S. the number one enemy when they were thinking about the Taiwan Strait.
而这个中国军队必须打赢这场战争。
And he felt that the Chinese military must win this war.
中国的社会体制必须向一个战时体制靠近。
And China's society must move toward a wartime model.
所以这个就是我们要面临的一个任务，就是阻止这场战争，加快宪政民主中国的建立或者再造。
This is the task we are facing, that is to prevent such a war and to accelerate the building of a constitutional democracy in China.
留给全世界人民的时间并不太多。
We don't have much time for the whole world to have this happen.
让我们一起努力。
Let's work together.
Thank you very much. 谢谢郑旭光先生。下一个是姚晨先生。Our next speaker is Mr. Yao Chen, and who is an expert on Chinese military and who once worked in the Chinese military himself. And Yao Chen, please. I'll try. I'm not very good on military, but I will try. 我的军事是不够好的，所以凑合。
大家知道中国面临着政治危机、经济危机和社会危机。
And everyone knows that China is facing a series of crises for political, economic, and social crisis as well.
实际上军事危机大家不是很清楚，很危急。
But the military crisis, people usually do not know as much, but it's very much in a crisis.
习近平上台以后没有停止从来没有停止对军队的整顿，就想抓住兵权。
And after Xi Jinping come to the power, he never stopped to try to clean up the military. He tried very hard to grab the power in the military.
最近他对军队的整顿，现在已经到了极端状态，整个火箭军的72个建军都被他抓了。
And recently, his effort to try to clean up the military has come to such an extreme, to the scary degree that every 72 generals in the Rocket Army were arrested.
他通过反腐败去抓军权这条路他是走不通的。
But Xi Jinping's effort to grab the military power through the so-called, in the name of the anti-corruption, it will not work.
中国军队的腐败是历史性的、体制性的、系统性的。
And because the military corruption in China is systematic, it's by its design.
军队的腐败，从某一方面来说，如果你反它，军人的利益会有严重的损失。
In some way, if you try to have an anti-corruption within the Chinese military, then the servicemen's benefit will be damaged.
他的反腐是选择性反腐，是为了清除异己，不是说彻底的根除军队的腐败。
The so-called anti-corruption by Xi Jinping is just a selective corruption instead of clean up or try to have an anti-corruption from its root cause of systematically.
他不可能把80%以上的军官都给去掉。
It's impossible for Xi Jinping try to eliminate 80% for military officials.
所以他现在唯一的道路就是要发动一场战争来抓军权。
So the only way for Xi Jinping to grab the military power is to initiate a war.
这次的会议最重要的一点，将中国军队的国家化放到了核心地位。
One of the most important fruit for this our conference just had 2 days ago is we put the military, the nationalization of the Chinese military to be highlighted point.
军队国家化不仅仅有现实意义，对未来有很重大的意义。
The nationalization of the Chinese military is not only important for now, but also very important for the future.
就目前来说，政党离开军队，让军队在政治上保持中立，在共产党解体的时候，军队不站队，就保持了中国国内不会发生兵乱。
And it's as of now, if we could separate the involvement of a communist party inside the Chinese military. Make sure the military is neutral. So then when China is in chaos, and the military will not be causing more chaos.
第二个就是中国国内发生社会动乱的时候，军队不让他参与镇压学生，像天安门广场那样的事情，绝对不让它发生。
The second very important thing is that when it happens, something like what happened in 1989 democracy movement, and then we could make sure that the Chinese military will not crack down the student movement.
更重要的一点就是，军队国家化是未来民主制度的一个重要标志。
Even more important is the nationalization of the military will be important mark for the future democratic system in China.
关于军队国家化，2年前在魏金仁主席和王军涛主席的主持下，我们专门召开了一次会议。
about the nationalization of the Chinese military. We had a special conference 2 years ago under the leadership of Chairman Wei Jingsheng and the Chairman Wang Juntao.
对未来的国防和军队建设，甚至包括对国防的布局，都做了详细的准备。
During that conference, we had a careful preparation for our future military and future national defense.
我们会以这个会议为契机、为起始，我们全面推动军队国家化。
I take this conference as a starting point. We are in a full-scale effort to push for the nationalization of the Chinese military.
谢谢。
Our next speaker will be Mr. Sam Chen from Tennessee. Sam? 下一个是秦新明讲话，他这2天帮着我们服务了，没机会讲话，所以我可以多让你讲2分钟。
I came from Tennessee and Alabama. 40 years ago, I came from China as a reporter and editor of the world's largest propaganda machine, New China News Agency. And I got 2 master's degree in journalism, but now I'm operating a chain of restaurants. Because 40 years ago, I came from China, I realized that the press freedom of speech is totally different from what I thought in China. After 2 years in America, I just could not go back to China to continue to lie to the Chinese and the world people. So I chose to run away from it. And then came Tiananmen Square massacre, and I became a student leader at Michigan State University. But gradually I lost my interest in this movement because I saw so many problems. But after several meetings with Mr. Wei Jingsheng and Wang Juntao, and now Wang Dan, I have new hope in the press freedom of speech in China. I'm so glad that the declaration of this Congress on China's direction has a special article about the press freedom of speech, and that's very important. I will continue to work hard for that goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I still see some reporters are here. So if you have a question, then you're welcome to ask. But if you don't, then I'm ready to close this press conference, and then we will have our own little continued meeting, just for our future plan. 那么下面还有谁有问题的话？话说那么下面谁要有问题的话，那么可以问，否则的话，我们这个新闻发布会就算正式结束。我们下面呢，我们继续再开一个小会来讨论有关就是我们以后的计划诸如此类的。如果需要休息几分钟，好吧？我们could take a rest for time. Okay. So if you have a question, just go ahead. But otherwise, I'm ready to say the meeting is. We thank you. It's exactly on 100 minutes. So then we concluded our press conference for the day, and thank you for everyone to come over here to witness this historic moment for the Chinese history. I'm sure. 今天你要讲话吗？有。就是 OK. All right. Thank you all for coming. 谢谢你们大家。So take a 10 minutes, 15 minutes break because it take a while to warm up. 15分钟休息15分钟，然后我们开始开小会。 对呀，进来很麻烦，那别出去了，那熬一熬吧，时间熬一熬。